America has empty homes. You can see them in faded beach towns, quiet suburbs, half-finished developments, and city blocks where the lights stay off at night. So why are families still doubling up, renters still panic refreshing listings, and buyers still losing hope? The answer is not one villain or one simple shortage. It is a broken match between homes, prices, locations, incomes, financing, rules, and incentives. By the end, the phrase empty homes will feel less like a gotcha and more like the start of the real question. Some empty homes are vacation houses, some are hunting cabins, some are college town units between tenants, some are being repaired, some are tied up in estates, some are listed for rent but priced too high. Some are in towns where jobs left a generation ago. Census Bureau data separates vacant homes into categories because vacancy is not one thing. A unit can be for rent, for sale, rented but not yet occupied, sold but not yet occupied, held off the market, or used seasonally. Those categories change the whole story. The most emotionally powerful image is an empty house near a person sleeping outside. But the policy problem is messier. A seasonal cabin in a rural county cannot solve a rent spike near a hospital, warehouse, campus, military base, or downtown job center. This is why a national number can mislead. America does not have one housing market. It has thousands. A vacant condo in a resort area does not help a nurse priced out of Atlanta. An abandoned house in a shrinking town does not help a teacher in Phoenix. Housing has to be near a life. Near paychecks, near childcare, near family, near transit, near medical care, near the places where people are already trying to survive. A home in the wrong place can exist on paper and still be useless in practice. That is the first uncomfortable truth. The crisis is not only about the total number of homes. It is about the right homes in the right places at the right prices. And America has been bad at producing exactly that. For decades, many growing communities made it hard to build smaller, cheaper, denser homes. They allowed large detached houses but blocked duplexes, small apartments, courtyard buildings, backyard units, and modest starter homes that used to be normal. Those rules often sounded harmless. Preserve neighborhood character, protect parking, avoid crowding, keep traffic down. But the effect was powerful. When a city says no to new homes in popular areas, it does not freeze time. It raises the price of admission. Imagine a concert with more people wanting tickets than seats. If the venue refuses to add seats, tickets get expensive. Housing works the same way, except the ticket is rent, the seat is shelter, and losing the auction can change your whole life. Zoning is not the only problem, but it is one of the quietest. It hides inside maps, hearings, minimum lot sizes, height limits, setbacks, and parking rules. Most people never read those rules. They just feel the result in rent. Minimum lot sizes sound technical, but they decide who gets to live where. If the law says every home needs a large lot, then every home carries the cost of that land. That makes small, lower-priced homes harder to build before construction even starts. Height limits can do the same thing. In expensive places, land is the biggest part of the price. If a building can only hold a few homes, each home must carry more land cost. If it can hold more homes, the land cost can be spread out. Many Americans say they want affordable housing, then oppose the buildings that make it possible. Not because they are evil, because change feels risky when your house is also your savings account. For homeowners, scarcity can feel like protection. If fewer homes are built nearby, their own home may become more valuable. That creates a political tension. The people who need housing often have less local power than the people who already own it. Then, builders enter the story. Builders are not charities. They build what pencils out. If land is expensive, financing is expensive, labor is expensive, materials are expensive, and approvals are slow, they will not magically deliver cheap homes at scale. Luxury is also a marketing word. Some buildings called luxury are just new. But new housing is expensive because everything about it is expensive. Land, loans, insurance, materials, appliances, labor, permits, delays, and risk all show up in the final price. University housing researchers have warned that the most severe shortage is for low-income renters. These are households competing for a tiny pool of homes that are both affordable and available, not just cheap on paper, actually available to them. That phrase, affordable and available, is important. A low-rent apartment occupied by a higher-income household is affordable in price, but not available to the lower-income renter searching today. The unit exists, but it cannot house the person who needs it. That is one reason vacancy numbers can mislead. A city may have apartments open at the top of the market while low-income renters face brutal scarcity. Empty units do not help if the rent is far beyond what a working household can pay. Think of a grocery aisle where the only food left is premium imported fruit and specialty snacks. Technically, the shelves are not empty. But if your budget is tight, the store still failed you. Housing has the same cruel logic. At the grocery store, prices are not only about food existing. Packaging changes, smaller sizes, loyalty cards, coupons, private labels, store layouts, delivery apps, premium products, and convenience habits all shape what people actually pay. Shoppers miss it because the system is designed to feel normal. Housing statistics move slowly because they track leases and owner-equivalent measures, not just today's panic on listings. A household does not live inside an index. It lives inside a lease or mortgage. Now add interest rates. When mortgage rates rise, the monthly payment on the same house jumps. The house did not become larger, the roof did not improve, the neighborhood did not change. But the payment can suddenly push millions of buyers out. Higher rates also trap some owners in place. A homeowner with a very low mortgage may want to move, but selling means buying again at a higher rate, so they stay. That keeps homes off the market and makes listings feel even tighter. This is the lock-in effect. It is not greed in the cartoon sense. It is math. People compare their current payment to the payment they would face next, and many decide that moving is too expensive even when their life has changed. Meanwhile, renters who cannot buy stay renters longer. That keeps demand in the rental market stronger. When buying becomes harder, renting becomes more crowded. The crisis moves from one door to another. This is where the empty home argument gets sharper. A new apartment sitting vacant because the rent is too high may pressure landlords eventually. But eventually is not the same as tonight. Market correction and human crisis operate on different clocks. Vacancy is healthy in moderation. A city with almost no vacant homes is not efficient. It is jammed. People need vacancies so they can move for jobs, leave bad situations, form new households, downsize, or escape unsafe housing. A balanced market needs some empty homes the same way a grocery store needs extra inventory. If every shelf is bare by evening, the store is not efficient. It is failing. If every apartment is full, renters have no bargaining power. None of this means every second homeowner is a villain. But incentives matter. If a house earns more as a part-time asset than as a full-time home, the market will often choose the asset. The community absorbs the cost. That is a housing crisis with empty houses in plain sight. The lights are off most weekdays, but the rents are high every day. The town has structures but not enough homes for full-time life. Some homes are vacant because they are not safe to live in. A roof can leak. Wiring can fail. Mold can spread. A house can count as vacant and still need serious money before a family can move in. Still, rehab is not free. If the cost to repair a house exceeds what buyers or renters in that area can pay, private capital may walk away. The building stays empty, not because no one needs housing, but because the numbers do not work. This is one of the ugliest truths in housing. Need alone does not create supply. Ability to pay creates supply in the private market. When need cannot pay enough, the market leaves people exposed. That is why deeply affordable housing usually requires subsidy. The gap has to be paid by someone. Land, labor, materials, maintenance, taxes, and insurance do not disappear because a household is poor. Without support, the math often fails. Federal housing assistance helps many families, but it reaches only a share of those who qualify. Waiting lists can be long. Vouchers can be hard to use. Some landlords refuse them. And in tight markets, a voucher does not create a vacant unit. This is the part many political speeches skip. Demand-side help matters, but if there are not enough apartments available at voucher-usable rents, assistance becomes a ticket to a concert with no seats left. That is the second uncomfortable truth. The housing crisis is not always caused by people breaking the rules. Sometimes it is caused by everyone following the rules we created. Take property taxes. Local governments often depend on property values. Rising values can fund schools and services, but they also raise costs and make communities more expensive. Homeowners gain wealth while newcomers face a steeper wall. Take insurance. In places facing storms, fires, floods, or rising repair costs, insurance can jump fast. A homeowner may have paid off the mortgage and still feel squeezed by taxes, insurance, utilities, and maintenance. That means the crisis is not only renters versus homeowners. Some owners are house rich and cash poor. older homeowners may own an asset that rose in value while their income stayed fixed. They are stable on paper, stressed in real life. Renters face the sharper edge because rent never becomes equity. If rent rises faster than income, saving for a down payment gets harder. Ownership moves farther away because rent eats the savings. Then the market tells renters to be disciplined, cut spending, stop buying coffee, skip delivery apps, compare coupons, buy private labels. And yes, habits matter, but no coupon strategy can outrun a rent increase that swallows the whole raise. That grocery store comparison shows how households are squeezed everywhere. The package shrinks, the price rises, the discount needs a loyalty card, the cheaper option hides lower on the shelf. With housing, the same pressure shows up as longer commutes, smaller spaces, roommates, application fees, storage units, moving trucks, deposits, and the emotional cost of never feeling settled. The pain is not just financial, it is mental. People delay marriage, delay children, delay moving out, delay leaving bad relationships, delay taking jobs in expensive cities. Housing becomes the invisible hand around every major life decision. Household formation is a clear signal. When young adults cannot afford their own place, demand looks weaker on paper. But the need did not disappear. People are stuck with parents, roommates, or crowding. This is a hidden crisis. Officially, a person living with relatives may not appear as a separate household demanding a home. Emotionally, they may be desperate for independence. Economically, the market may not see them until they can pay. So when someone says demand is cooling, listen carefully. Some demand cools because people are satisfied. Some demand cools because people give up. A family that stops searching is not proof the crisis is solved. Homelessness makes the moral failure impossible to ignore. On a single night, hundreds of thousands of people can be counted without stable shelter, while many more cycle through motels, couches, cars, overcrowded rooms, and unstable arrangements. HUD tracks homelessness through point-in-time counts, and those counts have limits. They can miss people. They capture one night. They depend on local methods. But even with those limits, the numbers show a country under severe housing stress. If rent is low and vacancies are available, a crisis may be temporary. If rent is high and vacancies are scarce, one lost job can become eviction. One medical bill can become displacement. One family conflict can become a tent. That is why the phrase housing first became controversial in politics but remains intuitive in human terms. It is hard to solve anything while someone has no stable place to sleep, store medicine, receive mail, cook, shower, or rest. Now let us talk about investors. This is where the conversation gets loud. Some people blame Wall Street for everything. Others say investors are a tiny share nationally. The truth is more local and more complicated. Government Accountability Office reports have found that large institutional investors are a small share of all single-family homes in selected metros, but their ownership grew there. Local impact can feel bigger than national share. When one company owns many homes in one subdivision, its effect can feel much larger than a national percentage suggests. It can influence rents, fees, maintenance practices, and buyer competition in that local pocket. Investors also do not all behave the same. A small landlord with one duplex is not the same as a national portfolio owner. A builder creating new rental homes is not the same as a cash buyer outbidding families for existing starter homes. But blaming investors alone can become a trap. If a city underbuilds for decades, investors did not create all the scarcity. They entered a market where scarcity already made homes valuable. Remove some investors, and the supply problem may still remain. Rent control is one of the most emotional examples. It can protect current tenants from sudden displacement. It can also discourage some new rental supply if designed poorly. The real debate is not slogans. It is design, context, and enforcement. Eviction rules work the same way. Due process can prevent abuse. Emergency rental assistance can stop temporary shocks from becoming homelessness. But if rents keep outrunning incomes, prevention must be paired with more homes people can afford. Starter homes are another missing piece. America used to build many smaller houses for first-time buyers. Now, high land and fixed costs push builders toward larger, more expensive homes. That means the bottom of the ownership market thins out. A buyer looking for a modest home competes with investors, downsizers, flippers, and other first-time buyers. The affordable listing gets crowded fast because there are so few of them. Manufactured housing could help more than people admit. It can be cheaper to build, and modern manufactured homes are not the stereotype many people carry. But zoning barriers, Financing barriers, land lease risks, and stigma limit its potential. Accessory dwelling units can help too. A backyard cottage, garage apartment, or small side unit will not solve the national crisis alone. But thousands of small additions can create gentle density without turning every neighborhood into a skyline. Reform moves slowly because local politics rewards delay. Opponents show up. Future residents cannot because they do not live there yet. The people who would benefit are absent by definition. This is one reason housing scarcity is politically durable. The winners are visible, organized, and already local. The losers are dispersed, exhausted, young, poorer, commuting from farther away, or not yet born. Permitting delays add another layer. Time is money. A project stuck for months or years carries interest, legal costs, redesign costs, and risk. Eventually, those costs must be absorbed, passed on, or used as a reason not to build. Environmental review can protect important things. No serious person should want unsafe, careless development. But process can also be weaponized by people who simply do not want neighbors. Good intentions can become a bottleneck. Materials matter. Lumber, concrete, steel, copper, appliances, windows, and transformers all move through supply chains. When costs jump, projects change. Some get delayed, some get canceled. Some come back with higher rents. Financing matters. Apartments are usually built with borrowed money. If interest rates rise, the project must generate more income to justify the loan. That can turn a feasible building into an impossible one overnight. This is why people should be suspicious of easy villains. The crisis is a pileup. Underbuilding, zoning, high rates, investor behavior, wages, construction costs, taxes, insurance, subsidies, and local politics all collide. But complexity should not become an excuse. A system can be complicated and still be unacceptable. When teachers, nurses, firefighters, service workers, young families, and retirees cannot afford stable shelter, something basic is broken. As those older buildings age, owners face repair costs. Some sell, some renovate and raise rents, some let conditions decline, some convert to higher-end units. The low-rent stock shrinks because time alone does not protect affordability. This is why preservation is as important as construction. Keeping existing affordable units affordable can be cheaper than replacing them after they disappear. But preservation requires money, monitoring, tenant support, and political attention. Mobile home parks show the stakes. Residents may own their homes but rent the land underneath. If an investor buys the park and raises lot rent, residents can be trapped. Moving the home may be expensive or impossible. That is housing insecurity in a different form. Ownership without control of land can be fragile. A family may feel stable for years, then find out the ground beneath their home is someone else's business model. College towns have another version. Students crowd the rental market. Landlords can rent by the bedroom. Families and workers compete with student demand. Vacancy may exist in summer, but that does not mean stable year-round housing is abundant. Military towns, oil towns, resort towns, and fast-growing Sunbelt suburbs each have their own version. Housing stress is shaped by local jobs, migration, land, climate, politics, and who has money ready to move first. Remote work changed the map too. Some workers brought big city salaries into smaller markets. For them, homes looked affordable. For local workers, the same homes suddenly moved out of reach. The crisis followed the laptop. Migration is not the enemy. People have always moved for better lives. The problem is when destination communities welcome spending power but block enough housing for the people already there and the people arriving. Now consider schools. In many areas, access to good schools is priced into homes. Families stretch for the address. That raises demand in certain districts, and zoning keeps supply limited. Education policy and housing policy quietly merge. Transportation is a hidden cost. A cheaper home far from work may not be cheaper after gas, car payments, insurance, repairs, tolls, and lost time. Affordability without transportation is incomplete math. That is why building near jobs and transit matters. It reduces pressure on household budgets and roads. But transit-accessible neighborhoods are often exactly where zoning fights become intense, because the land is valuable and change is visible. Energy costs matter too. A cheap older unit with bad insulation can punish a tenant every month. A home can be affordable on rent and unaffordable after utilities. Good housing is not just a roof, it is a monthly operating cost. Climate risk is becoming part of the bill. Floods, fires, heat, storms, and insurance retreat can raise costs or make housing harder to finance. Some places may have homes, but the long-term risk is getting priced into everything. That creates a new divide. Safer areas become more expensive. Riskier areas may look cheaper until insurance, repairs, disasters, or displacement reveal the true cost. The climate bill does not always arrive at closing. Sometimes it arrives later. So, what about empty office buildings? People ask why downtown towers cannot become apartments. Some can. Many cannot without major expense. Plumbing, windows, floor plates, elevators, fire codes, financing, and local rules can make conversion difficult. Still, conversions should be part of the answer where they make sense. Empty offices beside expensive housing are a symbol too loud to ignore, but they are not a magic wand. Converting a building is closer to surgery than rearranging furniture. Another idea is taxing land more and buildings less. The logic is simple. If valuable land sits underused, tax policy should encourage productive use rather than reward waiting. But tax reform is politically hard because every parcel has an owner. Public land can help. Governments, transit agencies, school districts, and churches sometimes own land in useful places. If that land is used for affordable housing, it can remove one of the biggest costs from the equation. Nonprofit and community land trust models can help keep homes affordable over time. They separate some land value from speculation and preserve affordability for future buyers or renters. They are not huge yet, but they show another way. Critics worry about cost, management, bureaucracy, and past failures. Those concerns are real. But private markets also fail, and we rarely describe high rent, displacement, and homelessness as management failures of the current system. The question is not public good, private bad. The question is what mix of tools produces enough stable homes. Some places need market rate building. Some need vouchers. Some need public housing repair. Some need tenant protection. Most need several at once. Return to the original question. America has empty homes, so why is there still a housing crisis? Because empty is not usable. National supply is not local supply. Price, condition, ownership, and law matter. Because homes are not distributed by need. They are distributed through markets, rules, credit, inheritance, timing, and power. Need may be morally urgent, but in the housing system, need often loses to income, equity, cash, and paperwork. Because the homes we stopped building are the homes many people need now. Modest houses, small apartments, duplexes, starter homes, manufactured homes, senior units, family-sized rentals near jobs. Because the private market is good at serving profitable demand and weak at serving people with very low incomes. That is not a mystery. It is the design. If we want a different outcome, we have to change the design. Because every delay protects someone's current comfort while pushing someone else's life farther away. Delay is not neutral. A delayed project can mean another year of rent hikes, another year on a couch, another year commuting from the edge. Because affordability is not only the rent or mortgage, it is the total monthly burden. Utilities, insurance, taxes, transportation, fees, deposits, repairs, and time. A home can look affordable in a listing and become unaffordable in real life. Because housing is emotional wealth for one family and a survival cost for another. That conflict shapes every meeting, election, lawsuit, and neighborhood argument. The same rising price can feel like success to an owner and defeat to a renter. The phrase housing crisis means different things to different people. For a renter, it means renewal fear. For a buyer, impossible payments. For an unhoused person, tonight. The country keeps trying to solve these as separate problems. But they are connected. When starter homes disappear, renters stay renters. When rents rise, homelessness risk rises. When local supply is blocked, regional prices spread outward. Even the suburbs are changing. The old promise was simple. If the city is expensive, move farther out. But farther out now often means higher transportation costs, longer commutes, fewer rentals, and bidding wars for the same supposedly affordable homes. Rural areas are not exempt either. Some have vacant homes, but not enough good jobs. Others have jobs, but old housing stock. Some have land, but limited infrastructure. Water, sewer, roads, broadband, and schools decide whether land can become homes. Infrastructure is the hidden skeleton of supply. A vacant field is not automatically a neighborhood. Someone has to pay for roads, pipes, drainage, schools, parks, and utilities. Those costs shape what gets built and who can afford it. Local governments often prefer higher-value development because it brings tax revenue. That can push builders toward bigger homes and upscale apartments. Public budgets and private markets favor the expensive option. The same is true with tenant screening. Landlords want to reduce risk. But strict income requirements, credit checks, application fees, and past eviction records can lock out people who could pay rent with support. Risk management becomes exclusion. That rejection has a cost. People crowd into unsafe units. They overpay for motels. They accept long commutes. They stay in unstable relationships. They leave communities. They lose access to schools, doctors, and support networks. So when people say housing policy is boring, they are missing the point. Housing is labor policy, health policy, education policy, climate policy, family policy, retirement policy. It is the floor under almost every other American promise. The good news is that the problem is not imaginary. We know many of the levers. Build more where demand is strong. Preserve what is affordable. Fund deeply affordable homes. Use public land. Reform zoning. Protect tenants. Speed responsible approvals. The solution has to match the problem. That means treating housing like essential infrastructure, not a luxury collectible. Roads, water systems, power grids, and schools are planned because society needs them. Some people will say this is impossible. But America built suburbs at massive scale. It financed highways. It created mortgage systems. It changed tax law. It subsidized ownership. The housing market we have was shaped by policy. It can be reshaped. Government is already involved through zoning, tax deductions, infrastructure, mortgage guarantees, building codes, school boundaries, and courts. The question is whose security that involvement protects. If policy mostly protects existing property wealth, scarcity wins. If policy protects the ability to live near opportunity, supply must expand. If policy protects low-income renters, subsidies and preservation must grow. The priorities decide the outcome. That is the part people avoid saying out loud. Housing affordability is not only a technical problem, it is a values problem. We cannot claim every worker is essential while zoning them out of the communities that depend on their labor. We cannot celebrate growth while refusing homes for the people growth attracts. We cannot praise teachers, nurses, firefighters, and service workers while designing neighborhoods where they are permanently priced out. We cannot call young adults irresponsible for delaying milestones when the entry price of adulthood keeps rising. A generation did not suddenly forget how to budget. The math changed beneath them. And we cannot point to empty homes as if the existence of unused structures proves abundance. A locked vacation house, a condemned building, a high-end empty apartment, and a vacant starter home for sale are not the same thing. Precision says count the units but categorize them. Map them. Check their condition. Check their price. Check their ownership. Check their location. Check whether a household with ordinary income can actually move in. Precision also says no single group gets all the blame. Not renters, not immigrants, not remote workers, not every landlord, not every homeowner. The crisis is bigger than a scapegoat, and too many scapegoats let the system off the hook. But some interests do benefit from scarcity. Land values rise. Existing owners gain equity. Investors gain pricing power. Local governments collect more from high values. That does not make every beneficiary malicious. It does mean the incentives are real. Ignore incentives, and we will keep acting surprised by predictable outcomes. Block apartments, and apartments become scarce. Delay permits, and costs rise. Underfund aid, and poor renters suffer. The most honest answer is this. America has many housing units, but it does not have enough homes that match the lives, incomes, and locations of the people who need them. That is why the crisis feels absurd. There are dark windows and packed shelters, empty condos and crowded bedrooms, vacation houses and long commutes, new luxury buildings and families denied for income. So the next time someone says there are enough empty homes, ask which homes. Where are they? What condition are they in? Who owns them? What is the rent? What is the commute? Are they legal for year-round living? Are they available now? And when someone says, just build more, ask more of what, for whom, where, and at what price. Building matters, but the type of building matters. Supply is not a magic word. It has to become homes people can use. The housing crisis is not unsolvable, but solving it requires honesty. Empty homes are part of the story, not the whole story. Shortage is part of the story, not the whole story. Affordability, location, and power are the missing chapters. That means communities have to accept some change. Owners have to accept that endless scarcity is not a moral victory. Politicians have to stop promising affordability while defending every rule that makes affordability impossible. What would success look like? More vacancies where people need options. Lower rent pressure, more starter homes, more legal small units. Shorter permitting timelines. Better use of public land. Fewer families spending half their income just to stay housed. Success would look like teachers living near schools, workers living near jobs, seniors aging safely, young adults forming households, children staying in the same classroom, and fewer people forced to choose between rent, food, medicine, and transportation. It would also look less dramatic than people expect. No perfect utopia, just more choices, more breathing room, more normal apartments, more modest homes, more room for families to make decisions without panic. That is the real goal. Not every home free, not every neighborhood frozen, not every developer punished, not every landlord demonized. The goal is a housing system where ordinary work can still buy ordinary stability. Right now, too many Americans feel like the door is there, the lights are on somewhere, but the key belongs to someone else. They are told the economy is strong while the lease says otherwise. They are told to budget while the math keeps moving. That emotional gap is why this crisis has become so politically explosive. Housing is where the national story meets the monthly bill. You can argue about inflation, growth, and markets. But a family knows whether it can stay. So yes, America has empty homes, but many are not the homes people need. Many are not where opportunity is. Many are not priced for ordinary incomes. Many are locked in systems that reward vacancy, scarcity, or appreciation more than stability. The crisis continues because shelter sits at the intersection of money and morality. We price it like an asset, regulate it like a threat, finance it like a commodity, and then wonder why people cannot simply live. A healthier market would let more people in, more renters with choices, more buyers with starter options, more seniors with downsizing choices, more workers near jobs, more communities with enough homes for the lives they claim to value. The biggest takeaway is simple. Empty homes are a clue, not a cure. The crisis exists because America has a mismatch between empty structures and human need, asset value and shelter value, where homes are and where lives happen. If this made the housing crisis clearer, like the video, share it with someone who thinks the answer is simple, and comment with this question: what kind of home is missing most in your area? Affordable rentals, starter homes, senior housing, or something else?